So there's a recent study that found that out of 243 designer portfolios, only 3% actually got a yes from the client. Meaning that a bad portfolio doesn't just make it harder to get clients, but it's actively costing you thousands of dollars that you're not going to receive by not getting the job that you're applying to. And the worst part is that it has almost nothing to do with the quality of the work that's inside the portfolio, but everything around the portfolio. Over the past 10 years and trying to grow my own agency, I've probably reviewed more than 100 different portfolios just to hire inside our own agency. And I keep noticing the same 4 different patterns. Super talented designers have pretty bad portfolios, and I think that this is going to be something that's going to be costing them tens of thousands of dollars and those big projects that you're really looking forward to. So that's why in this video, I want to go over those 4 things and exactly how to fix them so that your portfolio can actually help you get more clients rather than costing you all those clients. And not only that, but you're going to walk away with a full outline, outlining everything that you need to actually go from where you are now to having a 10 out of 10 portfolio. So the first problem that's happening here is something that not many designers actually talk about. Because when you're first starting out and you're building out your very first portfolio, the last thing that you're thinking about is the work inside of it. That kind of almost comes out as an afterthought. You're mainly thinking about the portfolio itself. And that's totally fair because it's quite exciting, but to the majority of people, this is going to be wrong. Because when I myself am running through a lot of different portfolios, I do the same thing that a lot of people do, is that I subconsciously rate the portfolio in my mind and I don't necessarily look at the work itself. What I find is that I, like most people, run these portfolios through different filters in my head. And in that window, when you're rating that portfolio in your head, people spend very little time evaluating the different work or the portfolio. On average, it's going to take them almost less than a minute. And the thing that makes this so frustrating is that you can have your best work in there. It can be super polished, it can be in the perfect layout and all these different things, but it can still fail through all these different filters that we set out in our heads. And these filters don't necessarily come from design either. They come from how your brain is going to be analyzing the different websites, whether to decide to move forward with it or just to throw it away and move on to the next one. And that's why the standard portfolio advice that you get doesn't necessarily stick for the long run. And that's why in this video, you're going to get super niche tips that you're not going to find anywhere else. While clean case studies and incredible projects do help you get clients, it's not necessarily going to stop you from losing clients. And a good analogy to think about this is that you can be mopping up a floor, but if there's still a bursting pipe above you and the water's falling down, it doesn't matter how much you're going to mop, you still have a problem, and that's going to be that leak. So these 4 filters is going to be what actually keeps a client from coming back or from hiring you. And the first filter is something that not a lot of people even think about when they're building their portfolio. And that's going to be the psychology. Now, you don't need to turn your portfolio into some crazy experiment to be analyzing and A/B testing everything. There's only 3 specific things that you need to get right in this section to make sure that you have a good portfolio. The first one is something called the halo effect. And the best way to describe this is by showing you an example from a brand called Black Ink. So this was a wine company and they had decent product, they had decent pricing, but they weren't getting any sales. So they decided to change it up and to do a crazy rebrand. They decided to rebrand the label, nothing related to the product itself, just the label around it. And what happened is that sales jumped 13 times. So that's pretty incredible. All that comes down to the fact that the first impression is going to be completely different from one design to the other. In that split second, you're going to think this wine is either going to taste very good or not something that I want to try. And that split decision is going to be what's going to drive it up or down. So you can think about your portfolio in the same exact way. The label is your portfolio. And if in that split decision, people don't think that it looks good or that it's appetizing, then they're going to move away and try something else down the shelf. The second one is arguably more important. It's something that's called processing fluency. And it basically boils down to how your brain is actually capturing the information from what it's seeing in the portfolio. So there's going to be a sweet spot between this is too simple and this is too crazy, too many animations and too busy, right? We've all seen portfolios on like Webflow showcases and awards and all these things that you see it and you're like, wow, this is just very overwhelming. So this is something that you need to keep in mind. The final thing you need to keep in mind in this psychology section is the speed in which all of this stuff is happening. So there's data that shows that you make an assumption about a product or a design in 39 milliseconds, which is faster than the blink of an eye. So the halo effect and the fluency problem, they're not necessarily happening over 10 to 15 minutes when you're viewing a website. They literally happen instantly when you first see the very first splash on your website. So what this means practically is that you need to have 3 different things dialed in to pass this filter or this section. Your portfolio in itself needs to be a portfolio piece. It needs to be very impressive to the point where you want to show it off. And thankfully in design, this has been boiled down to some laws or some rules that you can learn. So for example, limit yourself to 2 typefaces, have a 4-pixel spacing grid. All these things are going to help you have a very simple but understandable design language that people can perceive easily. So now that we've got that first filter handled, we have someone on the website and they think that it looks decent enough. The second problem is going to be getting them to stay for long enough to actually want to scroll through your projects. Because even if someone sticks around to see your project, there's something about the way that memory works that's either going to make it easier or harder for someone to remember the different projects in your portfolio. So that second filter is actually design, but not in the way that you're thinking about it. It has nothing to do with actually making anything look nice or not nice. It's simply the way that you're going to order things and decide to organize your projects. If you go in your personal portfolio right now and you have over 10 or 15 different projects, I want you to know right now that someone is barely going to remember 1 or 2 different projects. They're not going to clock in all the different ones that you've got right there. And it's not because they don't care or they didn't look at all. It's because of how the brain works. They're literally overloaded with information and they struggle to remember all the different projects that you have. In the end, it just gets clumped up into one sentence, like this portfolio was good, or it was okay, or they had that one thing. That's all you're going to remember. It's not going to be, oh, they had 15, it's super organized and this and this and this. So this is where we need to be a little bit counterintuitive. Instead of loading it up with so many different projects that you're proud of, you need to boil it down to maximum 5 different projects that you want the client to know about. But it's not going to be just that. You need to break their attention with something that sticks out. So you can't necessarily have 5 of the exact same project. You need to have 3 or 4 that are quite similar, but then have one that really grabs their attention. And that's usually going to be the one that's going to stick out to them. One way to think about this is that if you imagine a list from 1 to 10, but you pick out one number and add the color orange to it, you're immediately going to look at that number. It's not necessarily that you're trying to, it's just what's sticking out at you. By the way, if this all feels hard to keep track of, I have a PDF in the description that's going to help you through all of this so that you have something to guide you when you rebuild your portfolio. It not only is going to cover everything that we're talking about here, but it also adds on a bunch of different information that is going to help you even more than what we're going to talk about here. So now your portfolio passes the first impression test, and we also have the client on long enough to like and remember one of your projects. But there's a third filter that is gonna decide for real if your client decides to buy from you or not. And surprisingly, that third filter is gonna be sales. And that doesn't necessarily mean to have a hire me button on your website, although that is gonna help you. It's more about how you talk about yourself on your portfolio. What you wanna be doing is designing your portfolio specifically for your target client. You want it to feel like when they land on the website that they think it was specifically made for them. I've covered this a lot of times before on my channel, and even having specific pages for the client and sending it to them. And that really works, and it's very nice to receive that kind of thing. So this is exactly the feeling that you want the client to have, like it's something bespoke for them. So the first step around this is making sure that all your projects tell the same story that you want your client to know. For example, if you create framer sites and your main thing is that you're the best framer designer in the world, it doesn't make sense that 2 out of the 5 projects are about branding. Even though they look great, it's not going to commit the same idea to your client that you're good at framer, because now all they're seeing is branding, and what sticks out of them is that, oh, they also do branding. So realistically, that's not going to get you the sale. Now, there's an analogy that I used in another video that I think makes sense here, which is that if you walk into a restaurant or a cafe or whatever, and they have 100 different items, you're automatically going to think that maybe they're all going to be pretty average, because how good realistically can 100 different items be? But if you walk into a different shop, for example, a bagel shop or a cheesecake shop, which they have them here locally where I'm from, you're going to expect that cheesecake or that bagel to be out of this world because they have an entire store dedicated to just perfecting that one item. That mentality is exactly the same thing that's going to happen to your portfolio. So for example, if I'm trying to sell that my store is the best place to get a framer website because we are specialists in framer CMS, specialists in framer localization, specialists in framer video embeds, whatever. The person that comes looking for a framer site is gonna see that and be like, wow, this is perfectly designed for me. I'm the perfect client for them. Let me get in touch with them because this is exactly what I need. The second thing in this filter is gonna be your positioning at the top of your website. The problem is when you get into this world of design and you have your own portfolio, you now just dropped yourself into a pool of hundreds of thousands of other designers. So you need to think about, how am I gonna stick out in front of all these people? Because a lot of them are gonna be very talented. Most designers out there are going to be more talented than you when you first get started. So you really need to find a way to stick out to your perfect client. The best way to do this is that if you have a target client in mind, again, the copy and the positioning needs to make sure that you are speaking directly to them. It needs to be obvious that you are the perfect person to build their website or their wedding video or their photography session, whatever it is specific to them. Because if not, they're gonna go with someone that is. So you need to know for a fact that this niche is where you wanna go into. Now that's gonna be very difficult in the beginning, but as you progress and you find out more or less the kind of project that you like to do, you can start to dial that in. The third thing in this filter is gonna be quite important and probably even more than the last two, which is gonna be context. It's one thing to just drop a project in front of someone's eyes and be like, okay, here are some cool images from that project. It's another thing to add context. So in this case, what does context mean? It means how much of the project were you involved with? What were the outcomes of the project? Why did this project even begin? Was it an issue about retention that you wanted to improve for the client, so you created a new flow or whatever? Or was it maybe because the client wasn't very happy with the way that it looked, so you decided to do a rebrand or whatever? When there's no context around the project, the person viewing it is going to make their own assumptions. And that can be very bad for you because now they don't know all the special things and the special effort that you put into this project. They're just going to make up their own story in their mind. They're like, oh, I guess this got hired for a university project. It doesn't look that good. But what they don't realize is that you spent hundreds of hours in it and it has all these different angles and all this stuff. Every project needs the business that you work with, the size of the problem, and what actually changed for this project after it was done. If this is a case study, then you can imagine what the outcomes would be or you're trying to create. That alone is going to completely change the perceived value of you as a designer. You're no longer a designer and more a problem solver, and that pays a lot more. Especially now with AI and Claude Design, it basically is a designer and so many more people can become website designers. You need to really position yourself in a place where you can be someone above and beyond everyone else. At this point, the client is either going to be very impressed or they're going to have left already, but there's still going to be one filter that's going to stop them from contacting you and moving on to the final step. And this final filter is going to be entirely about you. It has nothing to do with the portfolio, but more about how you portray yourself on that portfolio. Now, this is not the same thing that I've been talking about positioning of where you want to be in the market. This is more about who they're going to be working with on the other side of that Slack message. Because at the end of the day, you're working with another human being. And if you don't show off your personality in any way, then it's just gonna look like they're talking and working with a random person. You wanna make sure that you're showing off your process, your opinions, the way that you work, what you like, what you don't like. You wanna be on the extreme levels of personality. And if your personality is no personality, then be extreme with that. Have an opinion without being loud, but you need to make sure that your voice is heard, because if not, again, you're just one out of a million people and you don't stick out at all. Now, a lot of people think that being professional means blending in and kind of being in this box, but luckily with design, we can kind of stick out a little bit more and have more opinions about ourselves, how we dress, how we look, the different colors on the site. All these things are opinions, and it's important to show them off when you're building your different portfolios. So once those 4 filters are finally in place, now you've got something that's going to help you sell yourself rather than missing out opportunities for you. But the portfolio is only going to be half of it, because now that you have the client, you actually need to be able to deliver on it. And there's a very specific way that you can use AI in your super large 10K projects that is going to help you move faster without cutting corners and doing a bad job. So I made a video about it right here if you want to check that out.